Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today, we're joined by Max Stallings. He is the head coach at North Forsyth High School. Thank you so much for coming on the show with me today, Max. Without any further ado, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your past in gaming and esports, and kind of what led you down your path to becoming a head coach at a high school esports program.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I love everything esports. Every year is more exciting in this world. Ever since I was a little kid, I've loved video games, not only to play them, but I love just to watch them. And so the esports world to me is fascinating. It's growing immensely. I love all the support we're seeing every single year. And the two sports that I have recently been acquainted with is League of Legends and Rocket League. Yep. I had no idea how to play either one of those games, but I was fascinated by them and I wanted to learn them. And then all of a sudden at my school where I teach healthcare as an elective course for students, I found out that we're having an esports team. And it didn't take more than about 3 seconds for me to say, okay, I want to be the coach. Yeah. And I reached out to the current coach and I talked to them about what they were doing and I watched a practice or two. And the coach immediately said, well, this should be your job and I'll give it to you. And ever since then, I take immense pride in trying to help our students learn the games, play the game, watch them play the game, build a culture with them, teach them how to be great teammates. And I can't wait for more sports to be added to our esports program. And obviously this year with COVID, we've hit a turn like every school has financially, participation, recruitment, but we're powering through. And we are very blessed in our sport that we can play virtually. And so we're tackling the challenges that are presented to us and we're moving on and we will compete this year. And I'm just trying to grow our program every single year just to get better. And it looks like everyone else is doing that. And I'm just glad to see the growth in this field, and I'm very excited for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the high school programs, they're kind of sprinkled all over the United States right now. We've talked to a number of them on Spincast. There's a lot of great programs out there, and they're all growing so fast. And what's great is kind of like the surrounding school districts catch on real fast too. So I'm excited to see in about 5 years, and there's just a ton of these high school programs that really provide all the opportunities that you provide for your students on the teams. But tell me first, kind of what are those teams? What games do your students play? Do your players play? What competitions do y'all compete in? Just give me a snapshot of what those competition and competitive teams look like.
Sure. So currently we are competing in League of Legends and Rocket League. Around the United States, other high schools are competing in other games such as Smite, Overwatch, and Fortnite. Due to every state's restrictions, we can't play all those games. So in Georgia, especially, we are limited to League of Legends and Rocket League. Overwatch and Fortnite and Smite are not allowed in our state currently due to violence issues in schools. And so League of Legends was the first one that was presented to us. And we've had great success in recruiting multiple teams for that. When Rocket League appeared on the map, we also had great success in recruiting for those as well. Every Tuesday is League of Legends match day, and every Thursday is Rocket League match day. Prior to this year, athletes were restricted to only compete in one sport. They had to either align with Rocket League or with League of Legends. As of this year, they can be cross sports. So they can actually compete in Rocket League and in League of Legends if they want to. And as I am told by the governing body online for our sports, Play Versus, that you might have heard of before. If not, playversus.com is a great website to check out if you're thinking about starting your own high school esports team. You'll notice that other places will be playing all these games, just depending on the state. And so I love the idea of us playing against other high schools. Their populations are different than our populations, and just seeing who is starting a program, who's been a seasoned veteran. We're starting to learn who are the patriots if you will, the dynasties, if you will, in Georgia. And I'm really excited that we can offer scrimmages almost any day we want. Play Versus has a new element on their website where you can either submit a scrimmage for someone to play, or you can sign up for someone's scrimmage that they have set up on the website. And so this new feature has really allowed us to have multiple scrimmages a week, late at night if we want to, right after school if we want to. And this feature just allows us to really play whenever we can and get our players and athletes more experience throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important, is finding those, well-balanced scrims against the like talent, right? And
Right.
most of the time it's even better if you can find them in other high schools, right down the road or across a couple counties, because I think it's just better for the students to compete amongst their peers, right? Or the same age groups and same skills. And, obviously it sounds like there's some sort of rank involved in that, whether it's in-game rank or some sort of internal rank, to make sure those matches are good, right? Because there's no point in scrimming, a team that's super better than you or, a lot worse than you, because you're not gonna get much out of that.
Right. And the website even now has a ranking where you can say how competitive was your scrimmage. So
Yep.
via that survey, they can start to figure out with data who should you be competing against and who maybe you should not be competing against to try to, make it a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds so incredible, and I feel like it's a great resource for the students, to say the least. Take me through what a practice day looks like for your players. What do you focus on? How do you practice? Scrim sounds like the big part of it. Do you do any VOD reviews or any, skill-based or mechanic-based training?
Sure. So the last couple of years building the program, my number one goal was to level up players and to get them skilled in just knowing the game. So 2 years ago, I inherited some players. I had an interest meeting, and number one thing was create an account, and we got to get you leveled up. In League of Legends, you have to be able to get to certain levels for certain abilities, like Smite with the jungler. Make sure you understand items and that you can start actually doing draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a priority for me. And so the only way that you get there with League of Legends is that you actually start playing the game, as many solo queues as you can or team queues as you can, in order to get to that level. After you get to that level, we can start talking about itemization. We can start talking about strategies. When do we hit certain objectives on the Rift?
Mm-hmm.
In Rocket League, first you have to actually analyze who has what ranking. If they're just starting off, well, obviously we need you to work on multiple things first: aerials, kickoffs, and these are skills that are not simple. Rocket League is a completely different game than League of Legends, where you have to control your aerial movements. You have to learn not to hesitate. You have to learn how to judge the pattern of the ball. And so fortunately, Rocket League already has all of these systems in place in a game where you can go into a tutorial and it literally just launches the ball in the air. You aerial up to it. You do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And so that is the ways that we've been practicing, mostly when we first started. Now that we've got a couple of years on their belt, these players have learned how to play the game. We're going to much more skill shot specifics on each player's game and style. For League of Legends, after watching and streaming games, I've noticed which players need to practice on their CS score and just be killing millions at the right time. And maybe if it's a jungler, when is the right time to gank? What is your path? And we get a lot more specific in each role of the game. I think that I've adopted this from esports over quarantine, watching all the League of Legends games that were online because we didn't have any other professional sports at the time. It was all esports. And I noticed how the really good professionals, all they do is practice CS. It's not a skill to them anymore because it's just natural. And so we've really adopted that this year to try to start the first 30 minutes or 40 minutes of practice to do skill shots and CS score. With Rocket League, my player who is grand champion, we've really pinned him against other players and actually have him pull back his talent because he's so capable of doing so, and have other players attack a ball in the air with him and see if they can achieve what he has done in actual games and hit the ball, and not only hit it, but hit it where you want to hit it. So step one, we practiced aerials. Now we're trying to do some more directional passes, make sure rotations are solid. So we'll do 30 minutes just practicing rotations, kickoffs, and then aerials. And then the later half of our practices, we will definitely work on scrimmages. So you'll see at the very beginning, it was just all scrimmages to try to get players to be used to playing the game, understand the basic mechanics with it. And now let's really dive into improving those basic mechanics of the game and really, going individualized for each athlete on our team.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely incredible. I love to see the, multi-focus, right? Because I always compare it a little bit to traditional sports and football. I grew up playing football and esports, but in football, you have your position coaches, right? You have your O-line, little mini practice, your skills, your receivers, your running backs, your quarterbacks coach, your kicker coach, and then all the, individual practices within that. And to see that kind of same idea translate to esports is so great because you can focus on these, individual mechanics and then play as a team in the scrims as well at that later half of the practice. And that's kind of like that all-inclusive model, that holistic model, so to say, that I think really sets up the students the best for success, right? But kind of changing gears a little bit, we were talking about this before we started recording, was the scholastic side of esports, right? All the opportunities that these students can gain while playing esports from that educational side. So take me through kind of the opportunities that you have and are developing to really help these students also develop their outside this game skills, so to say.
Well, we all want every high school student to graduate and either go into college or straight into the professional world. Each one can be very successful, and as long as they have a goal in mind, that is the key. I do know that at the academic side, there is a development going on in the county that is trying to push for a elective course, which is titled as CTAE, which is Career Technical Education. And that is one of the courses that I teach in healthcare. They're trying to produce an esports pathway. And what this would be is every aspects of esports training. It would be a series of classes that would involve everything that we know from esports, including marketing, the machines, game design, hosting an event, these general, topics in esports, and then get more fine-tuned throughout the pathway. I can't give any more details to you, obviously. I don't want to be too detailed in it, but it is very exciting to hear that this could be linked to esports, and students who enjoy esports could be on a team but also work towards a profession. We're watching you right now on a podcast as a profession. We're seeing people be hosts, game analysts. This is a immensely opportunistic field. Lots of money to be made in this field. And these students should have that opportunity. And if it's something that makes them passionate, and they might branch out into different aspects of marketing or engineering, and believe it or not, healthcare with esports, then this is fantastic. This could be the trigger. This could be the lure for these athletes and students to find their niche in life, their environment that they want to succeed in, and light that match. And we're just really excited to hear that, in the curriculum, the academic world, that there are advocates for esports, and they are as passionate as you and me, Kyle, and they want to see this grow as much as they can. And it really is. And I'm excited to see that. And if I get the opportunity to teach one of those classes, oh man, sign me up.
It will be first on the list.
I'll be first on the list, and I will learn everything I need to teach these kids professionalism, socialism, all these soft skills and everything they need in order to make it in the professional world of esports.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, at its core, esports provides a lot of great core skills kind of going off that educational side. You learn communication, you learn how to analyze your own play and analyze an enemy or opposition, right? You learn critical thinking and problem solving. How do you think under stress, right? How do you react with a very limited time? Most of the time, especially, in games like CSGO or Rainbow Six, the FPS kind of games, there's usually only 3-minute or less rounds, right? And in that 3 minutes, you have to, integrate your strat, counter your opponent's strategy or, formation or whatever it is. And then, execute, right? Actually complete the objective you're trying to do. And it's the same thing, League of Legends doesn't have per se a time limit, but there's a lot of very pressing kind of objectives in the game of getting the runes and the drakes and the dragons to make sure that, you're progressing appropriately, right? If you're falling behind in the time sense, then all of that kind of has to be weighed. And those are very core skills that are, very easily translatable into the workforce, into college. And that kind of leads to my next question is, in, your program, or maybe it exists now or is going to exist kind of off this scholastic side. What's your plans in trying to get some of these students, to college to continue to pursue? Do you have a system set up yet, or is it just try to aid them in that application process? Take me through kind of your goals, either now or in the future, of really helping these students develop the skills in high school and then also take them to college.
The first step that I took last year to try to encourage my athletes to think about this and get them out there more is start streaming. Because if I can start recording matches or stream matches, then basically college coaches will have film to watch on my athletes. I have met with one coach from Coker College, and this really inspired me to say, we need to start finding a way that anybody, anywhere can watch these kids play. I think going forward this year and the remaining years is really talk to my seniors and juniors about the possibility that they could play, and make sure that they understand the importance of every match, of their preparation for these games. I would love to also demonstrate or show scholarships that are available for these players. I think that right now in my program, for example, we're playing to have fun. We're so happy that there's an esports team. It's not a club, it's a sport now. And I think they need to start thinking the next level. And as we grow the program, I would love to find ways for us to be able to visit collegiate sports programs, to see their resources, to see their facilities. And I think that they could see that the hype will be tremendous. Right now, at North Forsyth High School, we're brand new. We're trying to fundraise as much as we can to get new equipment to perform optimally. And I think at the next level, and definitely the professional level, the gadgets are there, the gizmos are there, the best computers are there. You kind of get wowed by the lights. And I think that can really inspire any athlete, and especially esports athletes, to maybe get more serious or motivated in their skill. And I would love to see or hear from other collegiate players in what they went through, what their practices are like, what sports they obviously compete in, and then maybe what they did after esports. We know that's a very slim margin to make it to the professional level, but maybe I can have fun in esports and compete seriously in esports, and this is what I could leave with a degree or a profession. And I think if we can show that path, that alignment, then that would be tremendous. And I'd really like to reach out to some more collegiate coaches this year and try to build more on those relationships between the collegiate, the high school, and maybe even trickle that down to the middle school. In my CTAE pathways, we're all about vertical alignment, meaning that you expose students at an early age in a field, and they decide if they want to continue that, and they can experiment in that, and they keep liking it, they keep going. And so I think that would be a great tactic moving forward to really increase awareness of the potential of esports, not only starting at the high school level, but maybe even the middle school or elementary level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that vertical alignment is so important, that pathway, and kind of showing that it exists, right? Because, that's something I see a lot with high school students across the country in my experiences, is that they just don't quite grasp what that next step is, right? What step should they be taking to continue that success, to continue down their pathway to that long-term success, whether that's playing professionally or, more realistically, getting that job, right? Working in the industry they love and that they're passionate about, with the skills that they've developed over years and years playing, at a high competitive level, or just being part of that esports ecosystem, which is, absolutely so important for these students to kind of realize. I hope, there's more resources to come to really help these students kind of develop down their own pathways with that helping hand, right? Because every student needs a helping hand. This isn't only something for esports, right? Think about the recruiting process for football, right? Your coaches help you every step of the way. Your parents are usually involved, and so on and so forth. So, because kind of designing these opportunities is so important, to say the least. But unfortunately, we are running out of time, Max. Thank you again for coming on Spincast. I'll leave you with one last question. Is looking at high school esports kind of as a whole across the country. And I leave this question with everybody, super broad, so just whatever first comes to your mind. What's that next step for the industry? We talked about these pathways for the students, but what about for the industry at the high school level? What has to start to change or be improved on, or maybe a new concept to be integrated? or something that's super great that just needs to be explored more, to really come to life, to bring it from, there's a lot of great little microclusters, so to say, of, great high school programs and teams and coaches to become, nationally recognized, right? Where people go out on Friday Night Lights, right? Or the esports equivalent of it. What's the first thing that comes to mind to really help catapult us down our own pathway as an industry?
You got two words: attention and sports. Okay.
Yep.
Attention is, making sure that people know that they are allowed to watch this, or that it's possible to watch these games in person, streaming them on a screen somewhere. That's number one. And so that's why my target last year was to make sure that it is necessity to stream games, to show games, so that if anyone wants to watch it, family members at home, students at school, staff, anybody else that's interested in esports, maybe even opposing coaches sometimes, film and attention would be very, very important. My other one is sports, and I don't mean it just esports. I mean sports games.
Yeah.
I think if we open up esports to the Maddens, the NBA 2Ks, the show, not only will we grow our student teams, we will have a new population of people who play other sports and like to play the video game sports, who will also be interested in esports. Yep. I think that will add a whole bunch more population members to the community. And I think that would be mega important moving forward. I keep getting asked by students who are also athletes on soccer or football or baseball, hey, do you got NBA 2K? Do you got Madden? I'm really good at Madden. I'd love to play. Yeah. And, we have that virtual opportunity there as well to do practices virtually, games in person. And I really think that would definitely help us with our attention, and it would definitely grow our student body.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like a really important way to bridge the gap, right? Because the esports community by itself is super great, but kind of getting involved in that from the outside perspective is difficult, right? Because you look at games like League of Legends, and it's like, what am I watching, right? Especially if you've never been involved in gaming or esports. League of Legends today, incredibly hard to play, and arguably almost the same or a little more difficult to watch, right?
Right.
So I have no idea what's going on. Even me, I put in a decent amount of time, and still they'll like, if you don't keep up with it, I'll watch, Worlds or, a season championship, and it's like, I do not understand this new meta at all, and you get lost so fast. So
it's also a team sport though,
Yeah.
And so if we can bridge that gap with showing Madden, who everyone recognizes as a team sport, and then maybe they can transition to watching a team of 5 versus another team of 5 and positioning. And that's where I really think the bridge will happen. We'll get more viewership through sports like that, and that'll really help go from realistic life to gaming life into all different types of games on esports.
Absolutely. Totally agree there. Bridging that gap is so important to bring more visibility and awareness both to the players, the programs, and for everybody else around it. But we have run out of time. Max, thank you so much for coming on Spincast with me today. Real quick, if you will, plug your program, plug your school. Is there any Twitter handles out there, Instagram handles, or websites that we could keep up to date with what you're doing down there at North Forsyth?
Unfortunately, right now I don't have anything, but I do have our Twitch stream account, which is NFHS_esports. We'll be trying to stream our Rocket League and League of Legends games on that Twitch channel. And that's all we've got. We're still working on our social media as we grow. But I really appreciate you, Kyle, for letting me come on here and preach from the high school level, everything that we're going through. And again, I'm just so thankful that esports community is getting this much support, this much passion and drive into growing the programs across the United States. And I know the day will come where this is even bigger than it is now, and students can go into huge professions. And I'm excited every year for what esports is going to bring. Yeah, absolutely. I think the latest projections show that I think esports from a viewership and revenue standpoint is going to outbeat the NFL in about 5 years. So that's going to be an incredible feat in itself. And then the last titan is European soccer in the World Cup. That's going to take a little longer, but it's definitely on track with the last 3 years. So just blow everything out of the water from those perspectives. So that's fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait to see it come to life. And those are headlines everywhere. Imagine esports beats NFL.
that would be very interesting, right? And maybe one day League of Legends, one game itself will beat something, maybe a smaller traditional sports league that people, said in the beginning, oh, it'll never be bigger than that.
And then there will be.
But to our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining us on Spincast today. Stay healthy and stay happy out there. COVID's still going on. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and ultimately, stay plugged in.